Okay, so we continue with the king of the emperor. I don't even know which installment this is, but it's a good one. And we're learning about how the daughter of the emperor, with all of her wisdom and all of her talents, and she's really set on finding her mate, finding her soulmate, finding her shidduch, and that is the king's son, and this represents the Torah. Okay, so this is a story about how the soul connects with the Torah, how the soul is going to connect with its soulmate, the Torah, its love of its life is the Torah, and and so it starts with the luchos. It starts with Hashem giving them the tablets, and that's the first connection with the Torah. And if that would have worked, it would have just been so wonderful and so smooth, and everything would have been rosy. And that didn't work, and the tablets got broken, and from then it was never the same. It was never the same since then. And then we go of a very, very long journey of reuniting the daughter of the emperor with the son of the king. And so we're learning that that at the beginning of the story, she goes through 3 steps, 3 people that she meets, 3 people that want to marry her, and she tricks them into thinking that they're going to marry her, and really it's all a trick. Really, it's all part of her big trap in order to take something from them that she needs, because that's the only way that she can connect with the Torah. So the first person that she met was the businessman, the seicher. The seicher, she takes a ship full of merchandise, and she becomes very rich. She becomes very rich because of the ship first full of merchandise. And we explained last time at length that the ship represents status, represents chashivut, represents honor. Okay, that the Torah wants to be connected with honorable people. No lowlifes, no pushovers, no. That's not. If you want to really connect to Torah, you have to know that you are the top of the world. Okay, that's what the soul needs to reach. The soul needs to attain this status, needs to attain these millions of views, needs to attain the chashivut, and together with the chashivut comes wealth. Okay, comes wealth, and wealth is not something to be afraid of. Okay, and we said that this is a reference to things that the Torah brings, like it says in the pasuk that arach yamim b'mina, that the Torah has long life on its right side, ubi smola osher v'kavod, on its left side it has wealth as well as kavod, as well as honor and status. Okay. So the way that we connect with Torah is the Torah requires that we're chashuv. Torah requires that we're going to be chashuv people, and this is I told you about that this was the message of this yeshiva of Slobodka in Europe. We spoke about this, no? That in the Alter of Slobodka, so his name was Rav Nosson Tzvi Finkel, the same name as my Rosh Yeshiva, but he was named, my Rosh Yeshiva was named after him. Okay, so the Alter of Slobodka, he had a son, Rabbi Eliezer Yudel, who was the first Rosh Yeshiva of Mir, and his granddaughter married my Rosh Yeshiva, who happened to be Rav Nosson Tzvi. Anyway, so the Alter of Slobodka, he built his yeshiva around the concept of gadlut ha'adam, of how great a person is, how a person needs to know how dignified I am, and how it's important to walk around as a dignified person, and what it means that man was created in God's image. And if I was created in God's image, that means that I deserve respect. I deserve to respect myself. I deserve to carry myself in a respectful manner, and not to do anything that would degrade myself. Okay, and this is part of respecting Hashem is to respect myself, because when I respect myself, I'm recognizing that I am a reflection of God in this world. So I need to respect myself. This is there's amazing, there's I think I don't remember if it says in the Gemara or the Zohar. It says that it says in the Gemara. It says in the Gemara that a person should when he washes his face in the morning. So like there's a pasuk that like Kapal Hashem Maneu, that like to recognize that when we're washing our face, we're filling the world with divinity. That we should, if we're going to show up to life grungy, if we're going to show up to life dirty, so then we're hiding the divinity of the world. And part of shining the world with Hashem's glory requires walking around in a dignified manner. Meaning to have like it says in the Gemara that a Talmid Chacham, a Torah sage, that has a stain on their shirt, that goes outside with a stain on the shirt. So that's I think it says like he's chayav misa, like he deserves to die. It's a horrible, it's a chil Hashem. It's a chil Hashem. It's the desecration of Hashem's name for a Torah scholar that he is like, everyone's looking at him, that you're the representation of God in the world, that you should look around grungy, that you should walk around grungy, you should not respect yourself, so that you're not respecting Hashem. Okay, so it's the more that a person has to do with God, the more it's incumbent on them to respect themselves and to carry themselves in a respectful manner. Okay, so that's the chashivos. Okay, that's the first step. That if you really want to come to connect with chashivos, with Torah, so Torah is not going to really come to a person who is a lowlife. Okay, the Torah likes. I heard. I saw this interesting idea. It's interesting. It's a very fascinating idea. Like we believe that everything is in Hashem's hands, right? So when if a person's going to a doctor, so whether or not the surgery is going to be successful is really dependent on Hashem, right? So would you say that a person that wants to go to a good doctor as opposed to a bad doctor, would you say that they lack in trust in Hashem? Because if you really trust in Hashem, so you should say that, well, it's Hashem, so Hashem doesn't need a good doctor to save me. Hashem can save me with a bad doctor. So if Hashem wants me to die, I'm going to die even with a good doctor. If Hashem wants me to live, so then I'll live even with a bad doctor. So it's an interesting idea that big doctors have big angels, and small doctors have small angels. Meaning that there's a reason why he's a good doctor. The reason why he's a good doctor is because he has something about him that he carries. It's not that he's a good doctor and that's why. It's not that because he studied more for the tests, and he has something about him that he carries the good angels. And when we say he's a good doctor, that means that he has a good track record. That means whatever. But the whole reason why he's a good doctor is because he has the angels that are helping him, and that's why you should go to him. Meaning, like the guy that has a bad track record, so that means that there's something about him that Hashem doesn't accompany him with his surgeries. So that's why he keeps on messing up. But so anyway, so a person, well, it's okay. I think it's a fascinating concept.
Well, it depends if you're really thinking that, or that's a good thing, excuse for the mind, to not believe in it. But yeah. I used to believe back in the day that a good doctor, it's about him, but now I understand it's Hashem.
Wait, so if you believe in Hashem now, So, and
I
that's
still go to the doctor, but with the belief that, like you just said.
right. Oh, so
Well, I don't go to doctors, but yeah.
Baruch Hashem, yeah. I just went to a doctor today, and he said that, like, yeah, it was the first time I've been to a doctor in like 3 years, Baruch Hashem. So, so it makes sense, right? You're not saying it's not an excuse for not having emunah. It's a real thing, right? So when you have chashivas, when you believe in yourself, so then the Torah is going to come to you, right? So having chashivas, having dignity, having a stance, and having importance. So that is one of the things that attracts Torah. Okay, so one of the things that the soul needed to achieve in its journey was to try to get this chashivas, and that was the first step, and that's what we got from the socher, from the merchant. Okay, the merchant that we said that says sfina is chashivas, and that was the first step. Okay, so now we move on. Actually, no. Before we move on, we wanted to explain a couple of things which are going to be recurring themes. Actually, let's read the second story, the second part, and then we'll go back. We'll go back to these points because these points are recurring in all of these three steps, all of these three stories. Okay. So meanwhile, there was Meanwhile, I guess it's a recurring theme, the meanwhile thing. Meanwhile, there was a certain king who had built a palace on the sea. For it pleased him to build palaces on the sea, because of the sea air, and the ships would pass there. The emperor's daughter was sailing on the sea, and she came close to the king's palace. The king gazed and saw a ship without anyone directing it. No one was on it. He thought it was mistaken, so he asked his people to look, and they also saw the same thing. When she drew closer to the palace, so they thought but then she drew closer to the palace, and then she thought to herself, why do I need to go to this palace? So she started to turn back. But the king sent to bring her back, and he brought her into the palace. And this king had no wife. This king had no wife. Because he couldn't choose one. The ones that he desired didn't want him. The ones that wanted him, he didn't want. It's not fair. When the emperor's daughter came, so she asked him to swear that he wouldn't touch her until he married her lawfully. So he swore, and she said that it was fitting that he should not open the ship's hold or tamper with it. Rather, it should stay in its place on the sea until the marriage. Then everyone would see all of it, the abundance of merchandise that she had brought. Then people would not say that he had taken a woman from the street. So he promised her accordingly. The king wrote to all the nations to come to his wedding, and he built a palace for her. She demanded that they bring 11 of the minister's daughters to be with her. Thus the king commanded, and they sent her 11 daughters of high-ranking ministers. They built a palace especially for each one, so she also had her own palace. They would gather together with her, and they would play on instruments and pass time with her. One time, she asked them to come with her onto the ship, and they went with her and entertained themselves there. Then she said that she would honor them with fine wine that she had, and she gave them from the wine on the ship, and they became drunk and fell into a stupor. Meanwhile, she went and released the ship, spread out the sails, and made off with the ship. Now, the king and his people looked and noticed that the ship wasn't there, and they were shocked. The king said, beware not to tell her all at once, because she will be very distressed at the loss of such a valuable ship, because he didn't know that she herself had escaped on the ship. And he assumed that she was still in her room. So she might think that the king gave the ship to someone, so just send one of the minister's daughters to tell her with wisdom. Then she'll figure out how to tell her. So they went into one room and didn't find anyone, and then to another, and so to all 11 rooms, and found no one. They agreed to send an elderly mistress in the night to tell her. They went to her room, and they found no one there. They were very shocked. Meanwhile, the fathers of the missing women, who were accustomed to receiving letters from their daughters, now noticed that they were not receiving any letters. So they went to see for themselves. Upon not finding the daughters, they were enraged. They considered banishing the king and sending him to prison for those deserving the death penalty. They were ministers of the nation, having the power to mete out punishment such as this. However, they thought to themselves, what is the king's sin that he should be imprisoned? He had no control over this. So they agreed to dethrone him and banish him. They did, and he went on his way. As for the emperor's daughter, she escaped with the 11 ministers' daughters and sailed away in the ship. When the daughters woke up, they resumed their play because they didn't realize that the ship had left shore. Presently they said to her, "Let's return." And she said, "Let's stay a little bit longer." After this, a fierce storm developed, and they said, "We have to return home." And then she revealed that the ship had already left the shore. They asked her why she had done this, and she explained that she feared that the ship would be broken apart by the storm wind. So she had no choice but to unfurl and spread its sails. And so they sailed on the sea, and they played with their instruments. And then they passed by a palace, and the daughter said, "Let's approach it." Okay, so that's already the next story. Okay, so this is the second meeting, the second failed marriage or tricked marriage, if we will. That this time she's meeting a king, a single bachelor king. Okay, so this bachelor king, so he has a problem that he can't find a right match, and he is sure that the right match for him is really the daughter of the emperor. Okay. So what does the daughter of the emperor? What does she take from this whole encounter? What is her booty? What is her? She takes the daughters of the ministers. Okay, she kidnaps the 11 daughters of the ministers. Okay, so from the first merchant, she takes the ship, and what she's taking, her takeaway from this whole romance, from this whole experience, is that she's kidnapping the 11 daughters of the ministers. Okay. How does she kidnap them? Simple, by giving them wine. Okay, so before we go into the essence of what do these ministers' daughters represent, that I wanted to just go back and try to analyze a little bit a recurring theme in the story. That number one is the concept of the sea, and number two is the concept of the wine. Okay, and number three is the concept of, this we really explained a little bit last time, but number three is the concept of stealing and kidnapping. And in the next story, we're going to go one step further, and that is murder. Okay, so yes, this is a liberal. We're Hasidish. We don't go by the rules. So what's first of all by the sea? Okay, so we started talking about the first time we met the sea in the story, is that when the daughter of the emperor met up with the son of the king, so they said, "Let's go onto the sea. Let's go elope." Okay, they go onto the sea. Then we find that the merchant, so he lives on land, but his entire business, his entire livelihood is by traveling. Okay, he's always on the tree. His whole life is his ship, right? He has a ship, and the ship is, why do you have a ship? Why is his warehouse the ship? Because he's always traveling. Because his entire life is always traveling. Okay, so that's the first step. Now we have the king, and the king. What's the first thing that we hear about the king? That he likes to build palaces on the sea because he likes to gaze at the sea. Okay, and just for reference, so in the next part of the story, the next encounter, so the next almost marriage, the next trick of a marriage. So we find that there's somebody in an island. The first one was the merchant. So he lived on the land, and he does his business by the sea. The king, so he lives on land, but he likes a seaside. Is that a word? A seaside apartment, a seaside penthouse. Ocean front. Okay, he likes to be on the ocean. Okay, so this is. It's not enough for me to do my business on the sea. I want to be able to constantly be looking onto the sea. Okay, and And then the next step is even deeper than that, and that's to live on an island. To live on an island, that means that I'm existing in the sea. I mean, I guess you could be a mermaid, but the closest you're going to have in like being a human being to being in the sea is to live on an island, right? That's not even like I'm in the middle of the sea. That's like that's mamish sea life. Yes. Okay. So this is the three levels in how connected do I want to be to the sea. So what does the sea represent? What does the sea represent? And so we know that the word for sea in Hebrew is yam, and yam is the numerical value of yam is 50. So 50, the meaning of 50, the Kabbalistic meaning of 50 is that it's the beyond. Okay, the 50 represents what we cannot comprehend, what's beyond our grasp. Okay, and that's because 50 is more than 49. Okay, so and 49 is 7 times 7. So 7 is the physical world, 7 days of the week, 7 colors of the rainbow, 7 notes in the octave, and there's 7 aspects to each of those 7. So that really the complete world of understanding is 49. Okay, and so 50 is beyond that. That's why in Sfiras HaOmer, so it says Tisperu 50 Yom. First it says you should count 50 days, but actually we only count 49 because the only way to get to 50 is only by counting 49. 50 is something that you can't count 50 because 50 is actually beyond number. It's actually a connection to. I'm connecting to a place that I cannot count anymore. And that's what it means. That's when the Torah wants us to count to Matan Torah, to count 50 days. So what it means to count 50 days is that I'm connecting to something which cannot be counted. But the only way to get to what's beyond counting is only to count as much as humanly possible to count. So this is the Yam represents the infinite. It represents the beyond, and that's why in the ocean, when we look at the ocean, it seems like it goes on forever, right? Now there's people in the South that believe in a flat Earth theory, and so the ocean, certainly for them, the ocean is it's forever. Yeah, even according to the truth.
Well, it's finite, then you just fall off.
Till the ice wall.
Oh, you fall. If you
Yeah,
say
it's
they fall.
flat Earth, then you just go to far in the sea and you just fall.
Hold on. So how come you don't actually fall off?
No, there's an ice wall.
Ice fall?
This
think
is
flat earthers think it's like a half
No, that's
flat Earth canon. There's an ice wall.
I don't buy it.
It says so on Google. Must be true.
I know. I have a student. I have a student from Texas that has a lot of neighbors that believe in this thing. So she told me she would tell me about this one day.
I hear it in Texas. It might feel like it makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, so the ocean. When you go into the ocean, that's a feeling of there's a term in the Gemara, Mayim she'en lahem sof. The way that the Gemara refers to the ocean is waters that have no end. And that's that. And even on a practical level, so all the oceans are really connected, so you can really go forever, as opposed to Earth. Earth is finite. Earth has a beginning and an end, and the oceans there, it's really you can go off forever. You can really continue forever with the oceans. So the Yam represents the infinite. Okay, so a person who wants to go to the sea, what are they really saying? What are they really looking for? They're looking for something more than the physical world can give them. Okay, they're fed up with just the boring, counted world, the boring 9-to-5 jobs, and they want something. They want something that's whoa. They want something that's going to make everything else look just tiny. To be connected to something really, really amazing, and so when a person is connecting to the Yam, so what are they really doing? When you're in the sea, when you're part of the ocean, so you know what that is? The way that you connect the way that you connect with the ocean is you become nothing. You become part of something much greater. You become part of infinity. Yeah, this is the way that I once saw a beautiful Torah from the Slonimer Rebbe, from the Nesif Shalom. He talks about humility. He talks about humility. That it says by Avram Avinu, it says that Avram says that I'm like ashes and dust. Vanochi afar ve'efer. But the Gemara says that Gadol hanemar b'Moshe mima shenemar be'Avram. That what Moshe said is even greater than what Avraham said, because Moshe says Anochi afar ve'efer, I'm like dust and ashes, but Moshe says V'nachnu ma, what am I? I'm nothing at all. I'm nothing at all. So the Slonimer Rebbe explains that what does it mean? Like it means that like Avraham said I'm a tiny bit, but Moshe, he said nope, I'm nothing. You think Avraham, you think you're dust? I'm not even dust. It seems strange, right? It's like what's this competition? What's it mean to be less than dust? It's very weird. So Slonimer Rebbe explains like this, that there's two ways of being humble. There's two approaches to humility. One is that a person can look down on himself. A person could say that, yeah, I'm really not so talented. I'm really not so worthy. I'm really not so great. That's the approach of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu had an amazing humility, that he really looked at himself as really being incompetent, as being lowly. Okay, Moshe Rabbeinu was a leader. A leader cannot look at himself as being incompetent and lowly, and yet he was very humble. So what was Moshe's secret? What was Moshe's secret? So the Slonimer Rebbe gives a metaphor of if you take a fine wine, it's a $400 bottle of wine, and you throw it into the ocean. So what is it now? What is it now? So right now, it's nothing at all. It's nothing at all. However, on the other hand, it's the ocean. Okay, now it's part of the ocean. It's part of something much, much greater. Okay, so that was the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu. It's a different approach. It's that when a person realizes that I am part of this infinite existence, it's not that I don't recognize my talents. It's not that I don't recognize my powers. It's just that I realize that my powers are part of something so much greater, that I'm part of this infinite reality. I'm part of God's existence. I'm a function of God's infinite existence. Because I'm a function of God's infinite existence, so what am I? I'm nothing at all. I'm part of something so much greater that it completely nullifies. It nullifies even the greatest powers that exist. Okay, so this is the level of Moshe Rabbeinu, and the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. This is called bitul. Bitul means nullification. Bitul means non-existence. Okay, that's v'nachnu ma, that we are non-existent. What does it mean to be non-existent? It means that I'm completely a function of something higher. Okay.
Compared to wine, Moshe?
I'm sorry?
Was Moshe compared to wine? I mean, I know Moshe is compared to water because he was taken out of the water.
No, I just used something like chashuv, something meaningful. Like we're about to talk about wine. I didn't mean to mix the two up. So this is the idea of what you call it. This is the idea of yam. Yam represents bittul. Yam represents that I'm putting myself into a place that I no longer exist. Okay. So these three approaches of connecting to the yam is really three approaches to how to connect to bittul, how to connect to the beyond, how to connect to the infinite. Okay, so the first one was the merchant, that I'm living my life on earth. I'm doing my business transactions. I'm going in and out. The second one is that I always want to be able to gaze onto the sea. And the third one is that I want to live in the sea. Okay? Now, we spoke about this a little bit on Sunday, that that the difference between land and sea, is that sea has a power of unification. Okay, in other words, that the sea represents the achdus of the world. It says that at the end of times, umala haaretz das es Hashem, the world will be filled of understanding of God, kamayim layam mechasim, the way that water fills the ocean. Okay, so what's it mean that the knowledge of God was going to fill the world the way that water fills the ocean? So the thing about the ocean is that the water, it unifies the entire ocean. I mean, if I look at the ocean, I see unity. I see when I look at the water, it's all the same. It's all the same. Even though, really, underneath the water, there's a whole world. There's caves, and there's vegetation, and there's animals, and there's fish, and there's sunken boats, and there's treasures, and there's mermaids. No, actually, it's not clear if there's actually mermaids or not. There's a Rashi somewhere that talks about this thing, that there's actually something that's so. Maybe.
What does Rashi say? Where does it say that?
Where is it? Maybe in Saita. I don't remember where it is. Okay,
Do you remember what it says?
Oh, it talks about the something that like the half human and half fish. Yeah. So it could, but I'll look out for you. B'ezrat Hashem. So the I don't know what the samach. Anyway, but the water, the life underwater is very, very rich. There's tons going on. There's tons going on underwater, and yet the water has this property, this power that it unifies everything. Okay, whereas on dry land we see the individuality. Okay, that like here I see that you're you, the table is the table, the chair is the chair, the water is the water, the cake is the cake, and everything is separate. Everything has its own place. Whereas when we're underwater, so whatever's underwater, so the water unifies everything. Okay? It makes it all one. And literally, it's interesting. Like the water actually connects everything. Like we're literally, when we're all underwater, we're actually all connected. So when it says that the knowledge of God is going to fill the world, kamayim layam nechasim, that the knowledge of God is going to fill the world like the water fills the ocean, it means that it's going to have this unifying property. That the world is going to, everything is going to be in harmony, everything is going to be in unison. It's going to work together because they're all going to be connected with God's existence. Okay? So so this is the power of bittul, this is the power of nullification that the ocean has, that the water has. So how should we relate to this bittul? How should we relate to this reality of non-existence, of being connected with this out there existence, with this infinite existence that just makes us, it takes away our identity, it takes away our individuality. Yeah? This is Moshe Rabbeinu. It takes a lot of guts to want to be a Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was simply a function of God. It's not. No, I always say, like, everybody would want to be Avram Avinu. To be Avram Avinu is awesome. To be the first one to discover God. It's like to stand there, like, wow, I found you. Yes, there's a creator. Oh my God. That's like that. That's so. It's such a. You feel so present, and Hashem comes down to you and says, "Yes, Abraham. Yes, Abraham. You found me. Thank you for finding me." With Moshe Rabbeinu, that's not the way it goes. When you're Moshe Rabbeinu, so you don't exist. You don't exist. You're simply a function of a higher being. You're simply the tape recorder. Like I need to negate myself in order to bring down this higher knowledge. And that was like he had to separate from his wife. He had to separate from the people. It was not a life that we would wish for. And yet he was the most meaningful person. He was the most he brought down the Torah. We love him. We appreciate him. But he didn't live a life that we would aspire for, that we would wish onto ourselves or onto our kids. And that's because it's not so. When you're living in the sea, so then you lose your individuality a little bit. Okay, and it's a dangerous place to be. It's a hard place to be. Okay, so how much to live in the sea? So this is it's healthy and it's good to go on vacation in the sea, to keep grounded and to go for vacations. But this king, so he had a little bit there's something deeper. The closer you are, the more connected you are to the sea, the greater your treasures are. Okay, that the deeper you get to the infinite, so that's where the deeper treasures are. So the first step was the person that was willing to just dabble with the sea, to dabble with the ocean, and that was the merchant. So the merchant, so they got his first step, and now we have the next, the king, that he needs to always be connected to Bittul. He's not there, but he's always keeping an eye on Bittul. So that's a deeper connection to the sea, and that's where something deeper is that we're going to get to in a moment. What is this deeper thing? And then the third step is the even deeper thing, that's where the bandits, that's where the pirates, that they live on an island. That means that they need to live in the sea. So that's where the deepest secrets are. That's where the deepest treasures are. Okay. So that is what we're talking about. We're talking about the ocean, the theme of the ocean, the theme of the sea that exists in the story, so that represents Bittul. It represents connecting to the infinite, this infinite reality of we spoke about this last time of Ein Od Milvado. Ein Od Milvado is that when a person is negating himself to this high reality that there is nothing besides Hashem. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to understand, that this recurring theme in the story, is the theme of the wine. Okay, and the way that, and so it's very time appropriate because it's like in like a day and a half it's going to be Purim. Okay, so and so the biggest mitzvah on Purim is wine. So what is the secret of wine? Okay, so secret of wine, get it? Secret of wine because it says in the Gemara that nichnas yain yatsa side, that if wine comes in, the secrets come out. Okay, so and the commentators explain that yain and sod are actually very connected because both yain and sod are the same numerical value, the value of 70. Okay, so what does it mean? What do you mean nichnas yain yatsa sod? It says in the same vein. The Gemara says that b'shloisha dvarim ha'adam nimda. The person can be judged. Adam Nikar. A person's essence can be recognized with three things: Bekoso, Bekiso, or Vikaso. With Bekoso, when he drinks, then his true colors show. When he gets angry, how he acts when he's angry, or Bekiso, with his spending habits, with his money. Okay, how he deals with money, how he relates to money. So. Somebody once asked me, like since it says that so would you say it's safe? Would you say it's safe to marry somebody until you know how until you've seen them drunk? Would you hold off on getting engaged to somebody until you see them drunk, and you see them angry, and you see them? Yeah, there's something to that, like.
To make them angry, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Something I have to pay for because I'm right.
Yeah. This is the story about this girl on a date that they were at a red light or something, and like she reaches over, and it's like it's about to turn red. She reaches over, and she takes the key out of the ignition. And he looks at her, and like, and he says like, why'd you do that? And she says, and like everybody's beeping, and he says, are you going to give it back? And she says, so he's like waiting, like feels like eternity, and he says, here, you can have it back. And so they continue, and so like he pulls over and says, what was up with that? So she said, well, because I wanted to see how you deal when you're angry. I wanted to make sure that it was a test. It was I like to test the boys that I go out with to make sure that they can deal with anger, and you passed, Baruch Hashem. And so she said, oh, I also have a test that when I go out with girls, I need to make sure that they're not psychopaths, and you failed.
You failed.
And then she got angry, and then he just.
They lived happily ever after. Yeah.
They got married.
No, I mean no. At the end, and she went to therapy, and then she. So the kaisai, the yayin. So what the yayin doing? So the yayin is the way that everything is moving in the story. The thing that gets things moving, that gets things done in the story. It's the yayin, right? That this is the way that she was able to catch the boat with all the merchandise, and this is the way that she's able to kidnap the daughters of the ministers. So, and this is also how she's going to eventually kill the pirates. Okay? So, oh darn! I was supposed to call Rachel. So, sorry about this. Okay, maybe I should call back. Okay, so so this is the thing that gets everything done is really this. Okay, so what does yayin represent? So what does yayin do? What does it mean that a person his true colors show with wine? Okay, so the idea is very simple, that a person has natural. We have two ways. We have two energies inside our brains, and the two opposite energies, and one is called creative energy, and one is called critical energy. One is creative thinking and critical thinking. Okay, so the creative energy is when I'm just expressing, when I'm connected to the source of all ideas, and I'm just keep on throwing out ideas. I'm able to be in touch with my deepest self, and then I'm able to sing my songs and draw my pictures and to share my message with the world. And this is what creative energy is all about. And critical energy, critical thinking is the thing that says maybe not. Okay, so there's the yes and no. Okay, so the critical thinking is my filter, that every time I have an idea, so my filter is what says maybe that's a bad idea. Okay, maybe that when you show up to your boss and you want to tell him, I want you to know that you're the most disgusting person I've ever met, and then your critical mind reminds you that then you're going to be fired and you're not going to be able to pay rent. So maybe hold back on that. Like it's true that it's a very beautiful idea, and I appreciate that you have a lot of good thoughts, good ideas, but that in this situation, maybe it's not in your best interest to share your deep ideas with the world because it's going to get you out of a job, right? And and so our critical thinking is always telling us that maybe that's not the best idea, okay? And sometimes the critical thinking it goes on over hours. It goes on like super mode, and whatever we think. So our critical thinking says, no, that's not good. Somebody's not gonna like it, and they're gonna make fun of you, and they're gonna embarrass you, and they're gonna tell you that you're a failure, and they're right. And so better not to say anything. Better not to say anything, because whatever you're going to say, somebody is not going to like it, and then you're going to make a fool of yourself. Okay, so that's a crazy amount of critical thinking. That's a person who's depressed. So this is precisely his issue. The person who's depressed is that there's too much critical thinking. That he doesn't see. His creative thinking is turned off, and his critical thinking is on super drive, and so he thinks to himself that I am a failure. I see all of my faults, so don't bother, because whatever you're going to say is going to have a problem. Whatever you're going to say is dumb. So don't get out of bed, because whatever you're going to do is just going to be dumb. And so this is this is a mental illness, when a person has too much critical thinking and not enough creative thinking. Now, by the way, that there's also a mental illness when you don't have enough critical thinking. Okay, that's schizophrenia. Right, a person thinks that I'm Napoleon and I can. Now, so what does Yayin do? What Yayin does, when it says Yatz Asayid, what it means is that it brings down my critical thinking. I'm willing to do things I'm willing to take risks when I'm drunk that I wouldn't be able to take when I'm sober, because it's a way of taking down my fences. It's a way of taking down my barriers. That all of this critical thinking that says, "Come on, nobody's going to like you." So when I have yayin, so then the yayin allows me to believe in myself. Okay, now. Because this is a balance, because this is the way the human mind works. So that, like we said, if you don't have any critical thinking, then you're schizophrenic. Then you're crazy. Like this joke about this guy that went over to a drunk guy in Russia, and he was begging him if you agree with me that you'll stop drinking, I'll give you 20 rubles. That was like a huge amount of money. Like I'll pay you. No, Rebecca doesn't like to pay people to do things, but I'll pay you 20. I'll pay you 20 rubles if you agree to stop drinking. And he says, "You crazy? You crazy? What's your 20 rubles? When I'm drunk, the entire Moscow is mine." So you can meet yourself. You can have such little critical thinking that you're actually disconnected to reality, and that's the danger of drinking too much. That's like, you know, when the Torah talks about drinking, it's always bad. The Torah never talks about a person that drank and something good came out of it. Okay, Parshas Noach. So Noach drank, and he made a fool of himself. He made a disgrace of himself. Then the next time that there was drinking, this drinking was light. So he got drunk and he slept with his daughters. And the next time that there was drinking, it says that Yosef brought wine to his brothers. They became shikar, that they became drunk, and that's how he was able to manipulate them. He was able to put his goblet in Binyamin's bag, because they weren't really so with it, because they were drunk. And the last time, this is not first in the pasuk, but Chazal understand that Nadav and Avihu, that their problem was that they drank a lot, and they thought it's okay, I can go into the Beis Hamikdash drunk, and it doesn't matter, and Hashem killed them. This false sense of grandeur, of like being like better than reality. Okay, it's like when you have it too much, So shikrus is something which is treif, being the level of drinking that you become shikr, that you have no connection to reality. Then that's something which is a treif, and what we're looking for in Purim, we're looking for what when we're talking about nichnas yain yatzasayit. So that's something which is beautiful. That's when we're able to overcome our inhibitions. We're able to allow our true self to shine. Okay, and we're able to quiet those unhealthy critical voices that are telling us that, come on, nobody's going to like your song, so why bother singing? So that's nichnas yain yatzasayit. The things that usually I'm embarrassed to tell you because they're so deep, they're so me, that I'm really scared to really be me. So the yayin can help for that. Okay. So this is the way that I get all of the way that the daughter of the emperor, the way that she attains all of her riches, all of the sfina, and the way she gets the way that she gets the maidservants, and the way that she's going to get the treasures from the pirates. So it's all through yayin. Okay, what does it mean through yayin? So the yayin is to believe in ourselves a little bit more than the normal world thinks is normal. Like that it requires a little bit of going on something, taking a risk, like taking making ourselves vulnerable in a way that people aren't used to it. They're going to raise eyebrows. They're going to raise eyebrows, and they're going to say, like, really, but to believe that after they raise their eyebrows, they're going to say, whoa. Okay, that's the trick. So meaning without the wine, so we're stuck in this pathetic reality that nobody has the guts to be anything real, because we're just people pleasers, and we don't want to say anything out of line. We don't want to say anything that people are gonna say that, hey, you're not yeshivish enough. Hey, you're not mainstream enough. Hey, you're not like everybody else. And that if you're going to stay like that, then you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to get the riches. You're never going to get what the soul needs in order to be connected with the Torah. Okay, so this is the story of the yayin. This is what it means. That the way that the daughter of the emperor, the way that she succeeds in going through the different things that she needs, so it's all through yayin. Okay, it's all through this putting down the turning down the volume of the critical voice and connecting more to her deeper self. Because the truth is that when before a person puts down this critical thinking, so we don't even know ourselves. It's not just about expressing it to somebody else. We aren't even willing to admit to ourselves that we have something to say. We aren't willing to connect to what we really think. And this is like that the world can just shut us up. And I've talked about this one time that I was asking my kid, like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? What's your favorite food? It was foreign to him. He wasn't used to thinking, like, do I have taste? Do I have ideas? Do I have, am I a person? Am I an individual person? Or is my identity as much as I can show up as a statistic on what they say is a success? Do I ever stop to ask myself, but who am I? Do I believe in anything? Do I stand for anything? So sometimes this critical thinking can be so. Could you ask her if it's an emergency? So sometimes it's so loud that I'm not even able to connect it to myself. I'm not able to believe in myself, and it's the drinking the wine. That's what allows me to first of all to be connected in myself with the what. No. That's okay. So this is what the ayin is. The ayin. So we can reach, like, the point is that Rabbi Nachman over here is that when he talks about yayin, he doesn't mean that he wants us to drink. He means that he wants us to reach this level of believing in ourselves, this level of connecting to ourselves, this level of living a life of sod, living a life of my deepest secrets, living a life that I'm a person that has secrets. I'm a person that has depth. I'm a person that's not just like my entire existence is not what everybody else is doing, is not what's politically correct. That I have an existence myself, and that's my sod. That's my secrets. Okay, so the sod of something is the essence of something. Okay, so when Rabbi Nachman is saying that the only way to get things moving, the only way that anything can happen, anything that I can really get anywhere, in terms of my soul growing, it means that I need to be real. It means that I need to be individual. I need to stop trying to line myself up with what they say. So this is the background of the story. This is how the story goes. So maybe just do we have a little bit of time? A little bit of time. I want to start introducing what is Rabbi Nachman referring to? What is the second thing that she gains? What is the second thing that she's trying to connect with? That is these 11 daughters of the ministers. So, so first we need to understand what is the number 11? What does the number 11 represent? Okay, so 11, not surprisingly, is more than 10. Pretty profound, huh? So what's 10? What's 10? 10 is a unit. Okay, 10 is a full unit. You know, there's 10 sfirot. There's like the Hashem. There's 10 utterances. There's 10 plagues. There's 10 commandments. So 10 is the full. 10 is a full koma. The complete unit has 10 components. So once you have a nice unit, a nice organism, a nice complex structure of 10 different parts, so then comes the 11th. And when you're a complete structure, when you're just a perfect unit, a perfect team, and then somebody says, "Hey guys, how's it going?" So how do you feel? Mm-hmm. He's just like, everything was going nice, like, until you came. So what the story of your life? So 11 represents that the Gemara says an interesting thing, that minayin shekal hamosif gorea. That where's the source that sometimes when you that more is really less. Sometimes that to add more is really less, and so it says that it's from the number 11, because in the Torah, in the Chumash, so how do we say 11? Ashtei asar. It doesn't say achad asar. Sometimes it says achad asar, but sometimes it also refers to 11 as Ashtei asar yom. Ashtei asar yom. So Ashtei asar yiriyot. it talks about in the Mishkan. It talks about Ashtei Asrei Yirot. So Shtei Asar is 12, and if you add on to Ashtei and put an aleph in front, so it's Ashtei Asar. Add 1 to Shtei Asar. So what? Then what you get? Then you get 11. Then Ashtei Asar is 11. So you added, but you ended up with less. Okay. So the word Ashtei Asar means 11. The word Shtei Asar means 12. So by adding to 12, you get 11. So 11 is the expression of Kol HaMeisiv Goreh. That sometimes when by adding more, you're actually making it less. Okay. So this is the energy of 11. The energy of 11 is that you have a complete unit, and then you have the antagonist. You have the opposite energy. Okay. Now, where do we find the number 11 in the Torah? So we find the number 11. Find the number 11 in the Ketoret, in the incense. In the incense that we bring in the temple, so it says that there's 11 fragrances, there's 11 herbs that were used in the incense. And one of these 11 was something called chalbana. Chalbana, I don't even know how to say it in English, but what's it called?
It's like the same word with a G.
How to say it?
I don't know, but I do some davening in English.
Okay. How do you say it in English?
Galbanon?
Galbanon?
Yeah.
Okay. So galbanon. So Chazal say that the galbanon actually has a bad smell. It actually has a bad smell. And yet, the Ketores needs it. It needs to connect to this when you have this bad smell, and when it connects with the other ones on the Mizbeach, so then it's actually positive. Okay? Interestingly, Chalbana is the same gematria as Haman. It's 95. So Chalbana is Haman. So Haman is the forces of evil, meaning that you have 10. 10 is Kedusha, and then you have something that comes in, and that's the forces of evil, and then you have this antagonism. Then you have this pressure. Then you have this conflict. Okay, and then what do you have? After you have 11, then you have 12. What's the 12? The 12th point is the thing that connects all 11. That meaning first we were 10, and when we were 10, we were very happy. Okay, then everything was nice. Okay, then came Mr. 11, and that's Kol HaMeisiv Goreh. Like, I'm so happy you came. Right? That's 11. That's the evil. Okay, and then comes the 12th. Okay, in the Ketores, so the Mizbeach represents this 12th Nakuda. Okay, Rabbi Nachman says that the 12th Nakuda represents Emunah. Okay, that when you have Emunah, then the other 11 things, they all are grounded, and then they all come together. So when you have Emunah, the 12th Nakuda is the thing that brings the 10 together. It makes peace between the 10 and the 11th. That's 12. Okay, so this princess, the daughter of the emperor, she is the 12th Nakuda. She's the 12th Nakuda, and she is able to take the 11 that it seems like it's something which is out of whack, which is out of sync, and she is able to connect them, and she makes out of the 11 12. So 12 is actually a deeper level of completion, a deeper level of perfection than just 10, because 10 is just everything's well, and 12 is the 12th point, is the point that's able to take the 11th point, the guy that doesn't belong, and say, actually, I can fit you all together in beautiful harmony. Okay, and that's what happened. That's what happened with Ketores. Okay, now Ketores is something with smell, right? Because to have a smell, to be very present, to be very noticeable. So you have to have action. Okay, a person that's just gonna be a nice, sweet 10-er, So nobody's going to ever smell them. Nobody's going to ever. They're not going to have. They're not going to make their mark in the world. The only like to have a beautiful smell, to have victorious. So you need to have this conflict, and you need to overcome this conflict. You need to have these adventures in your life, that something that was not expected, that I wasn't planning on, that I wasn't really anticipating, and I somehow was able to work it out. That's going to make my life more exciting, to make me into a deeper person. Yeah.
Where do we first spot 11 and 12 in Torah? Because I'm curious, because like God created the world with 10 utterances.
Right. Meaning like
So that's like godly perfection.
right.
It's like the number. So
Right.
I'm curious, like where's the prototype for like 11 and 12?
So I'm taking 11. 11. The Chazal speak about 11 in two places. First of all, that in the Ketores that there's 11, and number two, that they use 11 as the prototype of Kol HaMeisiv Goreh, that more is less.
It was very interesting because in mainstream culture, 11, they always say this is a perfect number,
Yes.
angelic number.
Right.
Yes.
They always say 11, 11. If you see 11, 11, make a wish and all that stuff. It's like very common. You know, many people speak like that, which I find it very interesting that it's kind of opposite of mainstream view. Of the number.
It's actually in the Zohar also. 11:11 is mentioned in the Zohar. I've seen it. Aleph, 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 yes.
Aleph, Aleph, Aleph is not 11:11.
Well, it is 1111. So,
Okay, but
which is 22 OTOs.
22. I love number 22.
mhm.
There's definitely something to 11:11 in Judaism. Yes.
What do you mean? They mentioned Aleph, Aleph. What
I mean,
is it?
when you have 22, then you're already bringing it back together.
Right.
But
It's all coming back to one.
but just 11, no. That after it comes back to one, coming back to one. I'm not sure if you mean this, but I assume that this is what you mean. When Mara is saying coming back to one, so how do you say one in Hebrew? Echad. What's the gematria of Echad?
111.
13.
Oh.
The
Well,
13.
Aleph.
Echad is 1 and 12.
Okay.
Meaning that after you have the 12 is the guy that makes peace between the 10 and the guy going against 10, the Haman, right? So that's the 12 is the guy that makes peace between that. And then when you bring God into the picture, that is the complete unity. That is Echad. Okay.
Achava.
Hmm?
Echad and Achava are the same.
Echad is Ahava, that's also true. Yeah.
Which is 26, but
What?
Ava and Echad
Is
is
thir-
Gevasket.
is mean 13 and 13. Nice.
And Aleph is 111. Aleph also.
Aleph is 111. What do you mean?
Gematria.
Oh, okay. Right. Cool. So this is the introduction to the 11. Okay. When we're talking about 11, we're talking about expansion outside of what makes sense, outside of what's normal, outside of what's pretty and PC, and when I'm connecting with that and making peace with that and making that part of my narrative and coming out as a person that was able to take care of my antagonism. So that's what it means, the world of 11. Now, so what does it mean? What does it mean that she wants to take from this? So this we will continue with next time. Stay tuned.